What's up, you guys? It's Steve here, and today we are hearing that inflation is coming in hot, and a fourth federal level stimulus check to everybody in the nation of $2,000 to fight inflation might be needed right away. This is your breaking news stimulus check update and stimulus package update. Now, let me know your thoughts, you guys, but we are seeing headlines coming out like this today. Would another round of stimulus checks help Americans cope with this inflation that we're hearing is at a 41-year high? Now, I've got some video footage for you. You are not going to want to miss that. Just came out today as people are also saying the Federal Reserve, they're losing control. Now, we're hearing that they're thinking about grabbing that interest rate lever and yanking it because, man, we're going to need to increase these. We have not seen inflation this high since 40 years. And back then, the interest rates, they were multiple times higher than they are right now, but they're concerned about how our economy is going to be responding to that. And take a look, you guys. A lot of people are asking, did stimulus checks cause this inflation? I'm going to give you all the details as we're hearing some, but not all. And we're also hearing that stimulus checks, they might help out at this time. Now, I've let you know that all of this is likely going to be coming back. We're hearing that this is a midterm election year, and Congress is saying stimulus checks have helped fight poverty. Now, in addition to that, we've also heard about child tax credits, unemployment, wiping out student loan debt, Social Security bump ups of $200 per month, all of these. And I've been keeping you up to date. If you missed out the videos on those, check it out right after this one. A lot of announcements coming out as Bernie Sanders is also reminding Democrats, hey, you've made all these promises before, actually won your campaigns on these. You got to keep your word, keep your promise, and bring these forth for the American people. Now, you guys, I'm going to get you caught up on the latest. We're going to be taking a look at video footage and stimulus checks. The two scenarios we're hearing could unfold if another check comes out. As we're hearing, it's very likely right before midterm elections. So let's go ahead and dive right in, get you caught up on the latest. But before we do, also keep an eye out on the second channel, Steve Ram Finance, for more content to keep you up to date with everything going on with personal finance and growing wealth. And if you appreciate the content here on this channel, don't forget to take a quick second, smash the like button for me, helps out the channel a ton. Thank you so much. Also, leave your comments, share this out if you think it could help out other people. If this is your first time here and you'd like to stay up to date, it's totally free. Why not? Come join the Ram fam. All you got to do is take a quick moment to smash that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell. Any specific questions for me, shoot them to me in the DM on Instagram at SteveRam3. And with that being said, you guys, let's go ahead and dive right in, and let's start off with some video footage of what they're reporting is coming out today with inflation. Then after that, we're going to be taking a look at inflation stimulus checks.
Consumer Price Index data shows inflation is up 8.6% over the last year, the highest rate in 40 years. Meanwhile, gas prices are getting closer to a national average of $5 a gallon, very nearly there. ABC News business reporter Alexis Christoforous joins me live now for more on this. Alexis, what do these numbers tell you about this inflation crisis that we're facing?
You know, you and I were talking about this last month, and we were saying, oh, maybe inflation peaked. Clearly, it has not. If you look at today's report, inflation up 1% month over month, 8.6% year over year. The big culprit, you talked about it, gas prices now flirting with $5 a gallon, which tells us that even in the month of June, inflation is still going to hang out at not just a 40-year high, we're now at a fresh 41-year high. In addition to gas prices, food, broad-based, not just meat anymore. Started out with meat being the higher prices. Now it's food across the board going up, and rent as well. So it's all of the essentials continuing to move upward, Diane.
So what's driving this, and when might we see this level off?
That's what we're just looking for, a little relief. And it's still the same culprits sort of forming this perfect storm for higher prices. A big problem we're having right now is the tight labor market. We don't have enough workers to fill the jobs that are out there. That's pushing wages up, and it's very, very inflationary. We have the ongoing war in Ukraine, hurting gas prices, but now also possibly threatening a world food crisis. We've got COVID lockdowns in parts of Asia. That's putting more stress on the supply chains. So a number of things adding to the pressure, including the Federal Reserve, which, by the way, today's report basically guarantees the Fed will continue to be aggressive with hiking interest rates. We're looking at a half-point increase actually next week when they meet, another one in July, and now probably all the way through September as they try to rein in inflation.
Now, the Fed has raised rates. The Biden administration has tried a few things to try to help pricing with oil, for example, tapping into the strategic oil reserves. Are there more tools in the toolbox here? What more can be done?
We're running out, and in many ways, this might just have to play out through the economy. And we're going to start to see, we're already starting to see consumer behavior changing. And now we're moving to buying different things. We're looking at needs versus wants. Some of those services like air travel might start to pull back. You know, fuel is one of the biggest costs for the airline. So the airline tickets are really expensive right now. If you haven't booked your summer trip by now, you're going to be paying quite a lot. So as people start to pull back and that demand softens as we head into the year, the hope is that inflation will start to come down.
All right, Alexis Christophers, thank you.
There you have it. We'll see if inflation softens. Now, the Federal Reserve, they're talking about increasing by 50 basis points, but what if they did it by 100? Increase by a full percentage. Well, that would be pretty shocking to the markets. I think the entire economy would be jolted by that. Take a look as we're hearing that this is being taken into consideration as they're saying inflation is running away and the Federal Reserve is going to have to catch up. Take a look, you guys.
Mohammed, what do you think? If he were to do that, if Jay Powell were to go ahead and move 100 basis points, kind of shock and awe, I do think we've kind of gotten to the point where you can say you're going to tamp down inflation and that is priority number one, but people may not believe it until you actually, what was the Hank Paulson phrase? You know, you've got a bazooka, you got to pull it out and show them.
Yeah, I mean, he needs to regain control of the inflation narrative. He had lost control a little bit. Now he's losing total control. So he's got to do something. You've heard me say over and over again, the first step should be explaining why the inflation forecasts are so wrong for so long. And second, I agree with Jim. He's got to move, because if he doesn't, he's going to be chasing the market and he's not going to get there.
So if that is what we've already seen, another 383 points this morning on the Dow futures, even after the 600 plus points that we lost yesterday on the expectation that this would be a hotter number, what happens if he raises 100 basis points right out of the gun, surprises people? Like, how far down do we go before things stabilize?
So remember, you've heard me say we are pricing three different risks. Interest rate risk, that's what you're seeing right now in the market. Second is credit or recession risk. We haven't fully priced that in. And then, God help us, we don't have to price in liquidity risk. So what happens? I think you get rid of the interest rate inflation risk by hiking aggressively and giving a clear message, but you're going to have to deal with the credit risk. So my gut says Jim is right, but it's going to be a bit of a V. We'll come down first before we recover.
Okay, the numbers way hotter than expected, and let's just talk through some of those issues. We thought that we were going to be looking at headline numbers going up. We know food and energy prices are going up, but that was up by significantly more than anticipated, up 1% versus up 0.7%. But then it was even the core, without those things, was still hotter than had been expected. We're talking about numbers up 0.6% versus up 0.5%. On a year-over-year basis, the core itself up by 6%. That's huge.
Yeah, and I was with you a few days ago, and I said I'm baffled by people who are confidently saying inflation has peaked. Becky, if you take the first 10 days of June, and if they are what prevails for the whole month, the next measures are going to be even higher. So inflation has not peaked. We need something to happen to stop this inflationary process broadening throughout the economy and building its own momentum.
So there you have it. Now, let's discuss stimulus checks and how they tie into inflation with everything happening. And we have two arguments that are unfolding here. One is saying that stimulus checks have caused the inflation and we need to stop because it's going to make things even worse. And then we have those that say no, stimulus checks have added to inflation slightly, but not a significant amount. And we need to send this out to help out people because they have been the number one provision that has helped fight against poverty during this economic crisis that we're having due to the pandemic. Now, take a look, you guys. Articles linked down below. After a booming recovery in 2021 as America emerged from lockdowns of the pandemic, the economy in 2022 is at a crossroads. Now, massive stimulus packages passed by Congress in 2020 and 2021 helped keep the United States out of a deep recession or perhaps even a depression. However, the influx of capital to the businesses and individuals has also propped up the inflation rates. Now, the dilemma policymakers now face is whether putting additional money in the pockets of Americans will drive inflation even higher or if it will allow them to better cope with the rising costs. And let's take a look at both of these. Now, first off, the payments fueled inflation. but not all of it. So they are admitting that this is going to be sparking inflation, but not a significant amount. We heard them mention there's an assortment of different things that have caused the inflation we're experiencing, and this is being felt worldwide. Inflation is a normal and natural side effect of economic expansion. A business grows, they hire more workers, unemployment falls, and households have more money to spend, so demand for goods and services increases, which causes price to rise as we see the cycle of money begin to increase, and it fluctuates throughout the economy. Now, the economic impact of the pandemic, however, was neither normal nor natural. And the same could be said for today's 8.3 inflation rate, which we saw, which is finally trending down a little bit after resting for months at a 40-year high, according to the Wall Street Journal. Now, this was written a couple days ago. We've now received the word today that it's actually a little bit higher. Now, in times of normal economic expansion, prices rise slowly as money slowly enters into the economy. So it stands to reason that the sudden influx of trillions of stimulus dollars would send prices up quickly. So they are admitting it has contributed to the inflation we are experiencing. Now, to what extent? That's kind of up in the air. And will we be able to pass more checks to help out people and not cause it to increase significantly? Well, let me know your thoughts, but let's take a look at the two scenarios. First, thesis one, further stimulus will drive prices higher. Although the amount can be debated, there is no doubt that the $5 trillion released into America's economy during the pandemic had at least some effect on rising inflation. According to the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco, stimulus payments had a quantifiable effect of adding about 3% to the U.S. inflation rate by the end of 2021, and prices have only climbed higher since. Now, let's take a look at thesis two. Americans need additional money to cope with the rising prices. The clearest argument for additional federal stimulus comes from the actual data recorded by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, which found that the government action during the heart of the pandemic kept 11 million Americans out of poverty. According to the HHS, the most impactful program for alleviating poverty were economic impact payments, aka stimulus checks under the ARP, the American Rescue Plan, and the federal unemployment benefits or unemployment compensation, those $300 per week FPUC boosts, PUA, and PEUC. Unemployment and stimulus checks, they said, were the most effective out of all provisions. Jumping down, former presidential candidate Andrew Yang feels that the stimulus packages have gotten too much blame for inflation. As Yang told CNBC, money in people's hands for a couple of months last year, in my mind, was a very, very minor factor in that most of that money has long been spent, and yet you see inflation continue to rise, saying that stimulus checks were a part of it. However, we've got global supply chain issues, lockdowns in China, we've got the war with Russia and Ukraine, we have oil prices, gas prices, food prices skyrocketing, and stimulus is just a small portion of it. And we're seeing this inflation worldwide. So let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, but Andrew Yang is saying there's been too much blame put on stimulus. So there you have it, you guys. Now, we're going to be seeing how Congress responds to all of this, how President Joe Biden does as well, as we're hearing that if legislation can't get passed in Congress, that he's going to be busting out executive orders and executive actions. And all of this, we're hearing, is going to be ramping up and taking place right before the midterm elections. So do not be surprised to see more bills, more proposals, all of these things coming out for stimulus checks, child tax credits, bump ups for Social Security, wiping out student loan debt, unemployment benefits coming back. We heard about the lawsuits in Ohio. I will keep you up to date on everything here on the channel so you don't miss out on anything. And I'll also keep you up to date on state, county, and city level provisions. But with that being said, you guys, once again, thank you so much for joining me. If you made it this far and you haven't already, don't forget, smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. Helps me out a ton. Thank you so much. Also, leave your comments, share this out. If you want to stay up to date, it's totally free. Why not? Come join the Ram fam. All you got to do is take a quick moment to smash that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell. Any specific questions for me, shoot them to me in the DM on Instagram at SteveRam3, and consider joining my second channel, Steve Ram Finance, to learn about growing wealth and personal finance. But with that being said, you guys, once again, thank you so much for joining me. I will catch you in the next video. I hope that you and the family have a blessed weekend. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.